good. It's a triple-double for Bella Earl.
Goes matched up with a speedy guard. Great screen, spin move, layup, he missed it. Williamson fights for the board. His putback is good.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another Straight Out of Whack podcast. This week, we are previewing ACU men's basketball. So, I'm going to have a special guest here in just a minute that loves Morgan Wallen. I'm going to actually ask him what his favorite Morgan Wallen song is, because I know mine. I did text him on my way to an ACU game, telling him that I was listening to Morgan Wallen in the car just to give him good vibes. I think that was last year when they played UTEP, when they hosted Joe Golding in UTEP, and they did end up winning that game. So maybe there is some good vibes with some Morgan Wallen. But Brett Tanner joining me from Moody Coliseum, his office that has a beautiful overlook of the football field for their nationally ranked football team right now. Brett, how is it going in West Texas this morning?
Man, we're going. Weather's beautiful. And, we didn't start yesterday, I guess. By the time this airs, practice has been going. We start today. So, kind of like I told my guys yesterday, it's kind of like Christmas Eve yesterday, for me, maybe not for them, but, this is when I kind of start feeling good and excited about it starts to feel like basketball season's coming. So excited and ready to go.
Nice. So what's the plan as you get started with practice? You got a lot of guys back. You got probably the most returners in the WAC this year. Is that make it a little bit easier in the transition to start practice with the new guys, or what's the approach as you get started?
Yeah, I hope so. I think we had a great summer and a good little fall. I think, we don't have to spend as much time, teaching, our terminology and things like that. That's what takes so long. We're doing some things different, this year, of course, like every year you make some changes. And so there's new stuff for everybody, but, the terminology kind of stays the same and all that. And so that just, that's been good. I think we can move a little longer where maybe I don't have to practice as long, early in the year, where these practices usually tend to go and drag out quite a bit. I'm hopeful that this year, we don't have to do that. But even with 7 returners, we do have a lot of new guys too that have to learn. And so hopefully those guys do a good job of teaching with me, you know what I mean? And that's been my big charge to the returners is help me teach, because the more that they help, then the quicker we get rocking,
What's when you look at the new guys, what's easier to teach, the offensive side or the defensive side? Because I know you're a defensive, guru. So is that the toughest thing they have to adjust to, is the defensive aspect of what you want to put in place, at ACU?
Yeah, I guess. I think, I actually enjoy coaching the offense more than I do the defense, because defense is hard, right?
Right.
Offense is fun. And, but, I think that just defensively, there's a million different ways to do it, and none of them are wrong. The way we do it, most guys nowadays are coming from, a gap-oriented system. That's kind of the thing now, but we don't play that way. And so getting them adjusted, you know what I mean, to being more aggressive. And really the hardest thing for me to get these new guys to do is to trust that they're allowed to make mistakes. I think if you're going to guard the way that we guard, I have to be okay, with guys making mistakes, and we're going to give up a layup every now and then. I don't like it, but it's going to happen. And I think they don't trust that I'm, they're going to stay in the game if that happens, and that's the hardest part, is getting them to that point. Because when they finally do, we're pretty darn good. Last year's team, we had a lot of faces, and I don't think they really trusted me until, about February. And so we got pretty good defensively at that point. And, it just took us a lot longer. So hopefully that doesn't happen this year. And again, the returners can help build that trust with those new guys.
Right. I want to ask you, Morgan Wallen is your guy. You've mentioned that to me a few times. What's your favorite Morgan Wallen song that you would play over and over and over in your car or in the gym or whatnot?
Really an oldie, man. Not old, but for him, is like Sanding My Boots, man, which is kind of the one that got me caught into him a little bit. And I am a big fan. But I listen to a variety of country music. I'm a big, red dirt country guy, but I like all kinds of country music. And, I stumbled on a guy uh not too long ago, man, like young guy, man, like Baker Blankenship or something like that. Has got a couple songs I like. There's a lot of stuff out there. I'm playing music a lot more this year in the gym. We don't have Tanner Tuesdays anymore. We have Tanner Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I give them 1 day a week right now. That may change when we start playing games, but it puts me in a good mood. And I told them it's more important that I'm in a good mood than them right now.
That's absolutely true. That's absolutely true. I want to talk about ACU overall. You got the Moody Coliseum that's been upgraded, right? You got the baseball stadium that's been upgraded. And I think it was rated as one of the top, destinations recently in some kind of magazine. And then the football team is nationally ranked. I mean, what do you love about what's been going on there in West Texas? At this school, from the growth from, into the Division I ranks, Southland Conference, now the WAC, and now, next year, obviously the move, to combine the UAC. Just what's going on there at Abilene Christian University.
Yeah, I think that obviously we have unbelievable donors, people that love this university, not just ACU basketball or ACU football, but they just love Abilene Christian University and what it stands for. And so that helps, right? That you have people willing to put money into facilities and things like that. I mean, we have a beautiful new baseball facility as well. That was long overdue, and it's just, you walk into our athletic, I'm going on year 13, I think. When I got here, there was no football stadium. We played downtown at the high school stadium. Moody was falling apart. And baseball had turf, and that was about the coolest thing. And now in the 13 years, we have a football stadium right behind me outside I'm in this beautiful office that overlooks Abilene. Baseball has a first-class facility, and just to see, and it's not just the athletics, it's the buildings all over campus, the science center, the nursing facility, all this stuff is new within the last decade. And so it's just, ACU is booming right now. I think that starts with our leadership. Our president is by far the best president that I've ever worked for. He is involved. He knows everybody that works here. He knows all the athletes. He loves athletics, and wants to be out there on the forefront. And so super grateful for his leadership. And, I think that all of our athletic administration has been fantastic in terms of just forward thinking, this merging, with the ASUN, and it's really confusing. It's hard to explain to everybody. But I think it's forward thinking, man, by everybody involved. And I'm super excited to be a part of it. I'm going to miss the WAC. I'm going to, the competitions and the friendships that I've built with these other coaches, but super excited after this year for what the future holds, and grateful that I get to do it at a place like Abilene Christian.
Have you, when you got into coaching and things like that, and from, SFA, ACU, all this, just have you ever thought did you ever think that you would see so much conference realignment happen between, the Stanford, the Cals, UCLA's, USC's, Washington's in the Big Ten, traveling across the country to play, or SMU in the ACC, and just the craziness of it all and how quickly it changed? Like, did you ever think that we would get to that point where this is just, it's just crazy?
Yeah, no, I think anybody that told you they saw this coming is lying to you. Just everything that college athletics has become, and it's driven by money. Anybody that tells you anything different is lying to you, man. It's driven by money. Nobody really likes it. I mean, and what I mean by that is, I was blessed to be at a school that had a rival right down the street, and being able to experience that rivalry every year and what it meant was awesome. And not just to the teams, but to the universities. And now that rivalry doesn't even exist anymore. They don't even play, and they're different leagues and at different levels. And we're missing that piece to it, and And that's a sad thing, I think, for the fans. And as you see less people in the crowds everywhere, not just at the mid-major or low-major level, it's happening at the high-major level too, in all sports. It's because we're missing that, right? And I think hopefully one day, somehow, some way, we will get back to that, get back to regional conferences. Um, but that's just me. I think there's a lot of people that probably disagree with me. I know the television executives probably disagree with me quite a bit. I do miss it. But man, I'm excited to go create some new rivalries and in a new league and see what happens.
Yeah, I think I tend to agree with you. Those regional rivalries are have taken a huge hit. I mean, I was talking to someone the other day, about mid-major scheduling basketball, right? And we'll talk about that in just a second. But like in Utah, we have Utah State, BYU, Utah, Weber State, Utah Valley, Southern Utah, Utah Tech, and BYU, Utah, Utah State won't schedule some of the other mid-major like a Utah Valley. It's like, why not? They're right in your backyard. And I know you've dealt with this where it's like, why won't they play us? Why can't we get them on the schedule? Why won't, and I guess the question is, in that regard, how challenging is it to put together a schedule when teams won't schedule because of whatever the RPI or the net has set up with the analytics?
Yeah, we could have a whole new podcast on this subject alone, Kyle. Obviously we're in the state of Texas where there's 30 some opportunities and we can't play any of them, or we can, but we don't. And there's a lot of reasons, I think coaches like to say that, well, these guys don't want to play us, we're too good. I don't think any of that has anything to do with it. I know that there's a lot of people that would love to play us. But there's a lot of financials and things behind the scenes that we couldn't go into that I totally understand. It's frustrating. I think that there's people outside of, if they would just leave the scheduling to the coaches, it would be fantastic, and I think everybody likes to blame the coaches and say, well, they won't play me, or they won't play them. And that's not necessarily true. It isn't a little bit, but not much. Mostly it's coming from other places and it's driven financially, unfortunately. And so, I wish I could play Texas Tech and TCU and SMU and, all these guys. And that would be way better for us, better on our athletes, better, for everybody. And I think that it would be good for the bigger schools. Obviously when Chris was at Texas Tech, we played there every year, which we're super grateful for. And we had great crowds and great, because there was there was interest.
Right.
And, we were good. And so were they, but that made it interesting, and it was fun and, exciting. And we've gotten away from that, and it's unfortunate, but it's super, super hard to put a schedule together. Man, I just, with the Torvik and all this other, I didn't, there's things I don't even know what they're called. I didn't even know they existed. People are saying that that's why they can't play us, and I'm like, I don't even know what that is. And it doesn't, they don't know if guys are still on teams, aren't on teams. I mean, I think our Torvik was way too high. And that affected us in the scheduling this year.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. I like you said, we could do a whole new podcast episode on the scheduling, my thoughts on that. Cause like you said, those regional games, you talk about your games at Texas Tech. I think about the BYU Utah Valley games, especially at the Marriott Center where you guys traveled to in December. That game was sold out. It was one of their highest attended games every year when they played at the Marriott Center, even though, BYU would win a lot. It's like those games should be played. Like I get what you're saying though. All the analytics, all these platforms, it changes things and makes it difficult. And but yeah, I guess the question is, how do you feel about your schedule this year? I know, we could talk about the WAC schedule where you have, you play everybody 3 times, but like your non-conference schedule, let's talk about that first. How do you feel about that? You get, New Mexico State in Abilene, you're very familiar with Jason Hooten. You get SFA, you're at SFA, I should say. And, you got some quality games against Big 12 teams in Arizona and BYU. Like how do you feel about that and your schedule?
Yeah. Little mixed emotions, as we're getting closer and creeping up on the season. I don't like it very much, as I'm staring at it. But on the note we talked about a minute ago, I think even home and homes is really hard for us to get. And I'm super grateful, man, because we kind of all just circled up 2 years ago. And, I don't want to play, Jason. They're good. But, man, it's a game that either one of us can bust to if we want to. If we fly, it's a short flight. And it's going to be a heck of a game. It was last year at their place, and it will be again this year at our place. Obviously the previous staff at SFA, but Matty B, who's there now, wants to continue it. So to be able to go and play SFA home and home, to be able for the guys at Texas State, TJ and them to agree to play us a year ago. And then of course, Johnny, coming here last year and me going back to his place at Texas Southern, we all get to stay, close regionally. We're not getting that in our leagues anymore.
Right.
And so non-conference, just coaches being willing to play good people. Those are 50-50 games, man. We could lose all of them. We could win all of them, and it's probably somewhere in between. But that is, I'm super grateful to all of them for being willing to do that. So I love the fact that I don't have to travel much. I really wanted that with my guarantees as well, and we weren't able to get that. So I'm not real happy to go to Arizona and BYU. But man, that's what we needed. We needed a couple of those games, and those guys were willing to do it. And I'm grateful to those coaching staffs as well, because we couldn't get anybody because of our rankings or whatever, because we had returners. We couldn't get anybody to play us. And so I'm super thankful that those two programs decided that they were willing to do it. So anyway, I like the schedule. I do, but it's a schedule that it's going to be really hard for us to weave in and out of.
What's the I guess, from your experience, what's the struggle with whether it's a home and home in the same season or a home and home agreement, over a couple year period, a 2 year period or so? What's the challenge? I mean, I've talked to other coaches and they kind of say, well, we want to be the home team first, right? Like that sounds something, everybody wants a home game, but is there other challenges with that?
Yeah. Look, home and home in the same year is really hard to find dates. That's the biggest problem with that. But look, man, guys need home games and all of that. But, I think that you have to play somebody. And so, we took a hit last year so we could have some home games this year. We got Jason coming back to New Mexico State. We got Omaha coming here because we were willing to go there last year. I think that you have to be willing to start some games on the road so you can build in some, my hope every year. It got a little screwed up with, the conference stuff getting all messed up. But right. I used to we got it going. We played a long time ago when I was as an assistant doing the schedule. We just went and we played some tough road games so we could have some built-in home games. And then every year, all we had to do was go schedule road games because we always had built-in home games coming back. And I'm trying to get back to that, we have our home games this year, our returns. And then, I'm going to SFA and hopefully we've talked about continuing that series. I'm hoping that we can get that done. And we're starting a series with Pepperdine this year. So Pepperdine will be coming back next year. And then we have another good in-state series that's going to start next year that I can't talk about yet that I'm really excited about. But, man, so you have to be willing to go somewhere. That is a coach's thing. And I know we are required to get so many home games, and not being able to play non-ones makes that tough. I mean, we can play non-ones, but, putting a limit on that makes it kind of tough. But yeah, just being willing, that comes down to the coach being willing to do it. I think the longer you're in the business, the more you're willing to do it,
Yeah. Let's get into the WAC schedule. We're not going to go in depth on it, but like 3 times every team, it had to be done because there's only 7 teams in the league this year. I mean, I think you have a 3-game home stretch and then a 3-game road stretch, and then you come home to host UT Arlington to finish the season. Like, you've been in this league now for what? This is your 4th year. Is this the craziest conference schedule maybe you've obviously faced in that time?
Yeah, it's a little weird. We were going through it the other day, and I was like, our guys are going to get tired of staying in that hotel when we go to Utah Valley because when we play BYU, we're going to stay in the same hotel. So I don't know. Like we might as well just plant a flag, at the Marriott Center, and so at the downtown Marriott in Provo. But I think that It is weird. It is different. But look, I haven't had a home game to start conference play since we've been in this league, and we finally got that. So that's great. We don't have to
You got
travel.
two of them, not
I
just
know.
one. You got two of them.
I'm trying to find, I'm trying to make it glass half full, but our splits aren't real good. We go to Cal Baptist twice. We go to Utah Valley twice. We go to Tarleton twice. Tarleton's not so bad because it's right down the road, but look, there was no good way. There's probably not a coach in this league that is looking at their conference schedule saying, man, I like that.
Yeah.
There's no good way to do it. And those guys that put that schedule together had a really hard job. Look, we just all got to buckle up and do this and own up, just embrace it. You know what I mean? And it's going to be a different thing. Who knows, but man, to play somebody 3 times, I don't think you're going to see a whole lot of sweeps this year. Man, you get into the conference tournament and you're going to be playing somebody for the 4th time is going to be a little interesting as well. And so, who knows, man? But it's going to be fun. I think that everybody, we had to do our conference rankings or whatever the other day, and I have no idea who to put where. I think that anybody can beat anybody. Anybody can win it. And it's going to be a fun year if you're paying attention.
You don't see well, let's see. If you play everybody 3 times, what is that? That's 18 games.
Yeah.
So you don't see a 17-1 regular season champion this year.
You never know what's going to happen, but man, I wouldn't put money on it. You know what I mean? I think because you're going to have to play everybody 3 times, man. You're going to guys figure you out. There's really good coaches in this league, man, and really good players, and so it's going to be hard. And I think that we're all kind of like we all think right now. None of us think we're any good, because we're starting to practice. But who knows, man? Who knows what's going to happen?
Okay, so football teams, they go into a game maybe to start the season. They don't bring out the whole playbook, and then the next game maybe they bring out a little bit more, and then they get to that one game, where they just finally open it all up. Do you see that kind of happening as you play each other 3 times, where it's like we're not going to, open up everything at this time because maybe we're going to use this, the next time we play them, and so forth and so on. I guess because even though the rosters change, each other's coaching styles so well. Like, is that the approach, or is it just like, no, we're just going to go play our game and win ball games?
Yeah, I think that you're going to see different programs do different things. There's coaches that like, hey, this is what we do. This is how we do it. And we're going to be really good at it. And then there's guys that game plan more, and you may see those guys doing something different every game. But I don't know. I really don't even know how we're going to approach it. I'm trying to figure out how to win my first couple games in November right now. But I think that we'll get into it and kind of see and just play it by ear. And you never know what your team's going to look like, who's injured, who's not, whatever. And so I do think, though, you'll see a lot of different things that 3rd time, maybe, but just because teams are changing as the year progresses, some of our success in February was because we were playing in a different style last year in February. And I think that just naturally happens. So we're definitely going to see it, but I don't think it'll be anything that people are doing intentionally because we're playing each other 3 times.
Let's talk about maybe someone that's stuck out to you so far on the roster, maybe out of your returners that either you have stuck out or that you're hoping takes that step forward. Braden Hubbard is a guy that's being talked about around the league, obviously. You got some other talented guys, athleticism. But is there somebody like that sticks out in your mind that you need to take that step up from last year to this year?
Yeah, I'll mention Braden number 1 first, just because he's an unbelievable kid. It's when you coach somebody like him, you need to enjoy it. He's a good player. He's had some success, and man, you would never know it. He's an everyday guy, and super grateful that he is the way he is. And if we're going to be any good this year, I'm not talking about numbers. We just need him to be a leader and really take that next step, especially with, even though we have 7 returners, we did lose a lot of production as well. And so, to step up in that regard. But I've been super excited and impressed with a couple guys, man. I think Rich Smith has grown as a leader. Mine and his relationship has really grown. Super thankful that he is back and that he embraced this and he is taking a leadership role. And I think that he's going to jump on the scene this year. I really do. Just as a player, a competitor, and as a leader. And then Christian Alston, man, the amount of respect I have for that young man, he had a tough go of it last year that, a lot of people don't know some of the things he went through a year ago. And man, he just kept on plugging away, and he didn't get the playing time that he wanted or probably even deserved early because of some outside factors. He didn't get in trouble or anything, but just other things that were going on around him. And man, he could have easily in today's world been one of those guys that said, deuces, man, I'm going to go try this somewhere else. And he did not even hesitate. From the minute that last horn sounded, he said, "Coach, I'm back. Let's get to work." And it's shown so far. He has had an unbelievable summer and fall. I think that he's going to be a player that people, kind of jumps on the scene this year, that people are like, wow, where'd he come from? He has a unique ability to do a lot of things. And so I'm excited to watch him play this year. I think he's going to have a really good year. And, and then Mashai Hill is kind of in that mode where he's stepping into, he's becoming a junior. Big guys always take a little bit longer. And Mashai's really grown. His body has changed. He's lost 15 pounds and really starting to take it seriously. And then Cade Hornecker has had an unbelievable offseason. Our 7-footer, he was injured, and last year he hadn't played for 2 years when he showed up last year. And so he spent all last year just kind of getting back in the flow. And I think that he can have a really good season this year as well. And I know there's some other guys I'm missing, but Yaniel Rivera, is kind of been a guy that's just kind of slowly gotten better and better, and does a lot of things. You don't even notice him out there. And then you look at the stat sheet and he's shooting 46% from the three. And, and so all those guys, every single returner I have, man, I'm super proud of, and I think are going to have a major impact this year. And then the new guys, you just never know. It remains to be seen right now. But I like all of them, including I have a couple walk-ons that I think are going to play, which is always a pleasant surprise, and so I think we can shoot the ball a little bit better, which is exciting. Not good enough probably, but we can shoot it better. And we still are going to rely on some toughness and things like that. So I like the way this team is put together. We don't have a big roster, but so we're gonna have to stay healthy, and we're gonna have to, stay out of foul trouble. But I think if we do, I really like our group.
I like it. All right, Brett, one last question. You've been in the WAC for 4 years. Obviously we know that things are changing after this season. This WAC that you've been in, what's one road trip that one won't miss and one won't do again for maybe a few years unless you absolutely need a ball game?
All of them. I think here's the deal. I think the ones that were really, really tough are not in the league this year. And when I say tough, I'm talking about travel, right? Getting to Seattle was like flying. I flew to Hawaii this summer, and I felt like, man, I got here quicker than I used to get to Seattle. But I miss my friend Chris quite a bit. But I think that all of them. Honestly, just going west for us. We're playing games at 11 o'clock at night on our time clocks. I won't miss that. Just getting into places is hard. I won't miss flying into Vegas to get to St. George and to Cedar City, and having to bus but I'm going to miss it because I'm going to miss the competition, because I think that there's really good coaches at every single institution, and everybody does a really good job with what they have to work with. And I'm going to miss that. I'm just not going to miss the travel. And so that's going to be the part that I'm happy to see go.
Love it. Brett Tanner, I appreciate the time as always, my friend. Looking forward to it. November is right around the corner. I think, what did we say? Something like 50 days or something, that less than
past that mark, I think, already.
Yeah. Crazy to think it's here, that we're in another season, but looking forward to it. ACU, always a pleasure to talk with you, my friend.
Yep. You too, man. Appreciate you, Kyle.
All right. Take it easy, and everybody. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Straight Out of WAC podcast. I guess just straight. Thank you for tuning in to the Straight Out of WAC podcast. Let me get that out there.
Thanks for listening to the Straight Out of WAC podcast. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and other podcasting platforms. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode.